You're ready to learn? Well, that's good. They're very wordy this time around because there's no, even if I was like presenting this for an actual for an actual class, I would need I would need basically just like notes and you just like read them 500 times, but in this case, I'm not getting graded, so I just throw them on there.
The Flame 619 rated with 366 viewers.
Flame,
Slayer
thanks for the
underscore
raid.
Mosh followed.
Don't worry, guys. I'm supposed to keep everyone in line here after whatever the heck was happening
Pink
over there with the
Fluffy
sheets.
Badass followed.
All right, hold on. I'm gonna
Warped 3K
mute
followed.
this because I don't want to hear myself. I'm gonna mute the alerts so all the follows don't go off. All right, welcome in everyone. I'm just looking through chat to see if there's anything I missed. It's kind of crazy because everyone's playing right now because it's like right at 5. So I'll just let it. We're just gonna let it simmer down. There's just look. There's emotes everywhere on the screen. All right, so at the very top left, we're here. It's 5, and you're here in my stream. And then we're gonna go to Nate and then Slow Bumsy afterwards. Almost done with SquadFest. Hopefully, you guys have been enjoyed it so far. I pressed the wrong thing. Let's do this. Okay. It does this with the follows, so once the, once the followers are gone, I mean, so if I did this reverse, some of the stuff is like the one story that I'm gonna tell is like super wordy because there's no way I would be able to remember everything, so I'm just gonna read from it. I mean, that's what most of this is because there's like a lot of stuff that aren't just like the fun facts part. And this is just a good way to have the information in one place instead of like looking at, Chrome and looking through a website and doing that type of thing. So, what's up, Gaia? All right. So if you haven't gotten in, get in. Top 50 will be 20 layers in here, like the other ones. All right. Now that the follows have chilled, Slayer, Pink Fluffy, Warps, Wanna, Carter, Hoodlum, Hell Bunny, Sean, Unrivaled, Center, Vex, Dipeball, Mama Frosty, Ghost, Infinity, Jan Billy, Horse, Sparkler, and Green Widow. Thanks for the follow. All right, so we're gonna go through some stuff, which is the history of Halloween. Then I put some fun facts in there, and then how Jack O' Lantern's name came to like be Jack O' Lantern. That's what Stingy Jack is. And then I can't say that last name, and I don't think a lot of you can. So we're just gonna say the Hong incident because we can say that part. And that's like a true story that did happen. It's actually a story that was on Mr. Ballen, which is what I am right now. So if you don't know who Mr. Ballen is, he does true crime. He does some paranormal stuff as well. He's just a storyteller on YouTube. He's actually getting pretty big. Um, he actually had a tour where he went around telling stories, and it was like a 3-hour event at different cities. If you don't know who he is, so he has been really been getting bigger, and he's also been doing like other podcasts and stuff like that. If you don't know who that is, and his face is in the bottom left. So, but I assume Cold Dabs. So Cold Dabs goes over it. I'll start the. You got 60 seconds. So Cold Dabs will go over some of his videos and stuff, but I don't know if a lot of other people, since it's a bigger event, if you know who he is and stuff like that. So this is actually a Mr. Ball and flannel. It's very tight. So what you can't see is I have to unbutton the bottom, or else like it's like this It's like a straight jacket. They ran a little small for a flannel. I thought it was going to be a little bit more loose. So, all right. And then there's a lot of words in here, so I might randomly pause and stuff like that. And again, that's because like I'm not getting graded on this, so I'm not gonna memorize all of this. It would take forever, honestly. If this was like an actual thing for like a speech class or some BS. Okay. So Halloween's origins date back to the ancient Celtic. So we say Celtic and you say Celtic when it's like an in today's world, but when you refer to the Celtic people, you say Celtic. It gets very confusing. Um, but anyway, the origins date back to the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain. It's spelled Samhain, or however the heck you want to say that, but it's pronounced Samhain. And the Celts who lived 2,000 years ago in Europe celebrated their new year on November 1st. This day marked the end of summer, the harvest, and the beginning of the dark, cold winter, a time of year that was often associated with human death. Nowadays, you never, like, at least in Pennsylvania, you never even know what the freaking seasons are anymore. What's up, Blondie? I can turn the alerts back on too. And Celts believe that on the night before the new year, the boundary between the worlds of the living and the dead became blurred. And on the night of October 31st, they celebrated Samhain when it was believed that the ghosts of the dead returned to Earth, which we pretty much already know. This part we kind of know, like the idea behind it.
Okay,
Bonnie,
catch,
thanks for
okay,
tuning the bits.
catch.
FFSXX Blondie IXX
There's
cheered
a Choji Chicken chat
X200.
too. What's up, Robo Lady? Yeah, they actually had the pronunciation. They didn't have. I don't know if they had Celtic. I think I had to look that up to make sure, but they put in the sewing at least in the source I got this from, which is literally the History Channel. So, if you ever want this information about the history of Halloween stuff that I'm going over, it's on the History Channel. If you want it near a teacher or
Lefingist
something.
followed.
Laughing, thanks for the follow. This is almost over.
Solution
So, in addition to
underscore
causing
07
trouble and
followed.
damaging crops, the Celts thought that the presence of the otherworldly spirits made it easier for the Druids or Celtic priests to make predictions about the future. For a people entirely dependent on the volatile natural world, the prophecies were an important source of comfort during the long, dark winter. To commemorate the event, Druids built huge sacred sacred bonfires where the people gathered to burn crops and animals as sacrifices to the Celtic deities. Deities means gods. Um, During the celebration, the Celts wore costumes typically consisting of animal heads and skins and attempted to tell each other's fortunes, and that's why I have the picture in the bottom right. When the celebration was over, they relit their hearth fires, which they had extinguished earlier that evening from the sacred bonfire to help protect them during the coming winter. Is there some? I'm not sure. My ex is Irish. Oh, that's cool. Um, yeah. So fortune telling. That's what the Druids were. That's where the sacred bonfires are. Um, and the animal heads and skins type stuff. So it's kind of like when movies depict this type of stuff, right? That's where it kind of could have come from, at least with European type stuff. So, Mr. Drip Tip, power shotter with the win. All right, let's make sure the leaderboard's working. Yep. Okay. What's up, BZH? And then we'll just make sure it's on here. Yep. Okay. Let's do. Oh, I'm a boomer now because I don't because they changed it, And I forget this is how you need to make them now.
Slow Bumsy followed.
Thanks for the follow. Do these ones. All right, viewer. I didn't look at the time. I realized when I looked at that, I was looking at the. Some of these might be short. And then Yusuf copy and pasted, so I wasn't looking at that either. Whatever, it's fine. Because he copy and pasted it and then like changed the way they look. All right, you guys can get in. I have to join. And you have 60 seconds. All right. Okay, so that was the beginning. So we just went over like the Celtic and Soan part. So that was like the very beginning. Okay. And then what happened is, if you know anything about European history, you know everyone kills each other and takes each other's land and does all that crazy stuff. So eventually, by AD 43, the Roman Empire conquered the Celtic territory. And in the course of the 400 years that they ruled the Celtic lands, there's two festivals of Roman origin that were combined with the traditional Celtic celebration of Samhain. The first was Fairlia. I don't know how to say it. I took Latin, and I should actually know how to say that. Um, a day in late October where the Romans traditionally commemorated the passing of the dead. And then the second was a day to honor Pomona, the Roman goddess of fruit and trees. The symbol of Pomona is the apple, and the incorporation of this celebration into Samhain probably explains the tradition of bobbing for apples that is practiced today on Halloween. So, long story short, bobbing for apples started a long time ago. So very long, whatever. It's tradition that happened a long time ago. That's what I was trying to say. So that's a synopsis of those. Is they combined it, and then the bombing for apples comes from uh comes from the Romans or whatever. And then this one's kind of complicated. This one I tried to truncate, and I was like, you know what? There's too much crap going on. I can't like really simplify this. So when they called it All Saints Day, it started with Pope Boniface the Fourth. He dedicated the Pantheon in Rome, which is shown in the bottom right, in honor of all Christian martyrs. Can't speak. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And the Catholic feast of All Martyrs Day was established on May 13th, but later on he moved that type of celebration to November 1st, and he added saints into this as well. Yeah, a lot of Christian holidays come from pagan beliefs. And then by the 19th century, the influence of Christianity had spread into Celtic lands, where it gradually blended with and supplanted older Celtic ceremonies. Um, in AD 1000, the church made November 2nd All Souls Day, a day to honor the dead. It's widely believed today that the church was attempting to replace the Celtic Festival of the Dead with a related church sanctioned holiday. So basically, that's probably why they changed from May 13th to then, is they're just trying to move it and like make it either all inclusive or take it over, however you want to look at it. Um, and then All Souls Day was celebrated similar to Samhain with big bonfires, parades, and dressing up in costumes as saints, angels, and devils. Um, and we still do that now, right? That All Saints Day celebrated was also called All Hallows or All Hallowmas, and the night before it, the traditional night of Samhain in the Celtic religion began to be called All Hallows Eve, and then that's how the name Halloween became a thing. So, all right. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they're going. I have no idea what they're going on about. That was all European stuff. So But yeah, that's how you get. That's how they came up with the name. Is basically they started taking over the holiday almost of the Celtic part. Yeah, yeah, it originated in Europe. That's how I would look at it. And then I didn't put this part in it. Let me see. Yeah. I didn't go over like the US part cuz it was just like basic, right? So, Mechatronics with the win. Because it was just basic. It's like, well, clearly from everything I just went over, like that's why Halloween is now what Halloween is. You guys can get in. All right. Get in. Making me hungry with those cakes. Okay. Chat's moving so fast I can barely read it. I only have one screen. All right, you guys got 60 seconds. This is a shorter map. So, the American Halloween tradition of trick or treating probably dates back to the early All Souls Day parades in England. During those specific festivals, poor citizens would beg for food, and families would give them pastries called soul cakes, which are pictured in the bottom right, in return for the promise to pray for the family's dead relatives. The distribution of soul cakes was encouraged by the church as a way to replace the ancient practice of leaving food and wine for roaming spirits. The practice, which was referred to as going a souling, was eventually taken up by children who would visit the houses in their neighborhood and be given ale, food, and money. Um, and there wasn't that much more background than that when I was looking at it, so that's kind of just as is. They had parades. It started with beggars instead of what it is. Well, I mean, maybe children are beggars if you want to look at it that way. Um, but then the soul cakes were to be for the dead relatives. Yeah, and then one thing I didn't put in this, I didn't put in this is that different countries sometimes celebrate it at like a different part of the year or whatever. It's only like it only had like 5 regions or whatever in the map I saw. I'm not sure. I didn't see anything when I was looking at this. I mean, with anything, right? You can make anything like the Wendy's Krabby Patty. You just make it a limited time thing, just so it's special. But yeah, I'm not sure honestly. All right, and Jason, thanks for the follow.
Jason underscore 0716 followed.
So the tradition of dressing in costume for Halloween has both European and Celtic roots. Hundreds of years ago, winter was an uncertain and frightening time. Food supplies often ran low, and for the many people afraid of the dark, the short days of winter were full of constant worry. On Halloween, when it was believed that ghosts came back to earthly world, people thought that they would encounter ghosts if they left their homes. To avoid being recognized by these ghosts, people would wear masks when they left their homes afraid after dark so that the ghosts would mistake them for fellow spirits. On Halloween, to keep ghosts away from their houses, people would place bowls of food outside their homes to appease the ghosts and prevent them from attempting to enter. So this also kind of adds to it, right? Of what we do today. Yeah, so if you want to, you can put on a ghost costume and then have Josh's face like that. Maybe that will scare him away. This is a cool map. Um, but yeah, that was the thing is so they like would put things outside to kind of scare them away. And then in this case, like they put on a mask or something so that it's like, oh, I'm a fellow spirit, which is kind of funny because it's like it's, they believed in the paranormal a lot, you know? So they're like, oh, if I put on this disguise, they won't know I'm not them. And then, oh, if I place bowls of food outside for them, then they won't come inside. Um, right, next one. Oh, wait, let me see. All right, you got 60 seconds.
Okay, catch, okay, catch.
Okay, so there's that one. And then I don't know how long it's going to take. I think the way I'm going, we'll have enough time actually to go everything though. Um, I'm on someone. Okay. So pumpkins. They're not going to see that. I just banned them because I don't want to deal with it for the rest of the time. Um, so Illinois produces the most pumpkins, almost 700 million pounds in 2023. That is a lot more than Cali and Indiana, which is around second, which is 150 million pounds. So Illinois apparently just makes a shit ton of pumpkins. And then if you look at the picture below, a woman set a new state record for growing an almost 1,900-pound pumpkin of a local pumpkin growing contest.
Nomad Warrior 412 just
Anonymous,
subscribed.
thanks for the gift of
An
sub to Nomad.
anonymous user gifted a tier 1 sub to Nomad Warrior
So if you look at the graph,
412.
and you guys can't really see it too well, and also like when you look on Chrome or whatever, sometimes it doesn't like display it doesn't display the words like kind of how I see it or like how you would see it if I just gave you um the PowerPoint. In this case, it's just Google Slides. But yeah, so Illinois has all the pumpkins. Yeah, someone apparently liked that. All right. So another fun fact: during World War II, American sugar imports were rationed, which limited how much Halloween candy could be made. Thankfully, candy companies quickly caught up to their regular scheduled candy producing levels to keep up with the demand and make up for lost time. So basically, after that happened, they like they went full blown sugar candy, and then now we have fucking too much candy. And you go to Walmart on November 1st, and then all the candy's on sale. So those were dark times, but afterwards there was light times. What's up, Dabs? And then these are just some pictures I saw from. I kind of so I don't know about everyone else, but I kind of like the old school type style, like graphics or whatever. Like, you know, in Fallout they have that type of stuff. Um, so I just kind of put these up. This is what they had. Sugar is scarce to make it stretch, and then it says, you know, none, less on this. And then it has the actual rations. There will be a Mr. Ballen story after the after part of this. All right. Okay. The race ended, so we'll wait 1 second. You can read it. Yeah, that's on one of the other slides. Okay, reckless. Phoenix with the win. Or you guys can get in. All right. Yeah, I did something similar to this 2 years ago when SquadFest did Halloween. Um, but I did something different. I did like more of a trivia thing, and I couldn't even find, like, I didn't see a source, and I was like, oh, I definitely did this before. I actually don't know how long it took me. It didn't take me too long because I wasn't, so with some of these, like, it's not like a regular presentation. So I just fucking copy and paste the things and then put some pictures and then just call it a day. I don't have to actually like memorize what I'm doing. Um 60 seconds. Um so it doesn't take too long. It only, you know, only takes probably like a day or two, but it's like a couple hours, and then you go do something for a couple hours, and then you're like, "Oh shit, I should probably finish this or add some more." And I just keep doing that. That's like basically what I did on Thursday night. I did a lot of it. No, I definitely did not. I know where they came from, and sometimes I put the website, if anyone ever asks me, in the slide, but that's all you're getting. You know how many times I had to cite sources before? I don't want to do it again, like formally. And it's funny because like you do all of that for like the papers and stuff, and then if it's ever like an arc, whatever, it's usually not that fancy. It's, people just freaking use an automatic one or whatever. All right, so candy corn. Before there was candy corn, there was chicken feed. The quintessential Halloween treat was once known as a different type of farm food. When George Renninger invented the tricolored candy in the 1800s, he marketed it as chicken feed before it was quickly renamed candy corn following World War One. It was called chicken feed because prior to World War One, most people didn't think of corn to be human food. You know, funny enough, some people think candy corn is still not human food, even today in you know today's society, modern society. So, um, and then in the graphic in the top, it says since corn was used to feed chickens, the creation was called chicken feed, and then the box is marked with a colorful rooster. Yeah, you're either like team candy corn or not candy corn. Um, I don't know. With I think like a little bit of candy corn is fine, but I would never want to eat a bag of it. You know. Well, What's worse, candy corn or circus peanuts? I mean, that's a real question. Guess they never had a tortilla. Really? A lot of you like circus peanuts? Carter with the record. I mean, I'm not usually too picky on things, so you know, what every 5 years? Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about like. Actually, I don't. I probably had candy corn last year. I haven't had candy corn this year yet. Oh yeah, it does this. All right, you guys can get in. Um, it's very like waxy. I don't know. It's similar to candy corn, apple caramel candy corn. I am not a black licorice fan. Um, if you mix Jaeger with something, it's actually fine. Jaeger fucking tastes like black licorice. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything that's kind of similar to it. All right, you guys have 60 seconds. Um, well, then it gets kind of like once you go past candy corn, there's like you go into like Necco wafers and like stuff like that, or like some taffy. Some people are picky with taffy. All right, story time again. All right, so Stingy Jack, and I actually didn't know this. I might have known it a long time ago. Like I might have learned about it a long time ago, just not anytime recently. So people have been making jack o' lanterns at Halloween for centuries. One version of the practice may have originated from an Irish legend, which first appeared in print in the 19th century about a man named Stingy Jack. According to the story, Stingy Jack invited the devil to have a drink with him. True to his name, Stingy Jack didn't want to pay for his drink, so he convinced the devil to turn himself into a coin that Jack could use to buy their drinks. Once the devil did so, Jack decided to keep the money and put it into his pocket next to a silver cross, which prevented the devil from changing back into his original form. Jack eventually freed the devil under the condition that he would not bother Jack for 1 year and that, should Jack die, he would not claim his soul. So the next year, Jack again tricked the devil into climbing into a tree to pick a piece of fruit. While he was up in the tree, Jack carved a sign of the cross into the tree's bark so that the devil could not come down until the devil promised Jack not to bother him for 10 more years. So basically made him a coin and then I guess made him carved a sign of the cross and cheese marks. Oh, he carved a sign of the cross. Okay, so yeah. That's pronounced stingy. Okay. Stingy. Oh, stingy. 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 Okay. Well, then we start going on the GIF. I don't want to talk about the GIF thing anymore. So, all right. Soon after Jack died, as the legend goes, God would not allow such an unsavory figure into heaven. The devil, upset by the trick Jack had played on him and keeping his word not to claim his soul, would not allow Jack into hell. He sent Jack off into the dark night with only a burning coal to light his way. Jack put the coal into a carved out turnip, which is what they used to use, and has been roaming the earth with it ever since. The Irish began to refer to this ghostly figure as the Jack of the Lantern, and then simply Jack o' Lantern. So that story likely drew on a parallel etymology. I don't know what that word means or remember what it means of the term Jack o' the Lantern, as akin to Willow the Wisp, a mysterious light seen in wooded or swampy areas at night, sometimes with natural causes, other times as a result of mischievous children lighting lanterns. A will o wisp kind of looks like the far bottom right picture. Yeah, so basically, I guess he just roams as a freaking jack o' lantern. I don't know. Jeez, it's kind of weird how it does that. So go LICPGM with the win. What's up, P base? All right, you guys can get in the next one.
Forget catch.
Um. All right. You guys have 60 seconds. So, Jack o' lanterns. In Ireland and Scotland, people began to make their own versions of Jack's lanterns by carving scary faces into turnips and placing them into windows or near doors to frighten away Stingy Jack and other wandering evil spirits. In England, large beets are used. Well, in this case, were used. Immigrants from these countries brought their vegetable carving traditions with them when they came to the U.S., helping change American pumpkin carving from a general autumn pastime um, to one uniquely associated with Halloween. The idea with this was also to scare away spirits. So as you see, they're horrifying, especially one in the top right. That one's probably the scariest of them all. Yeah, Josh O'Lantern. Yeah, ghosts are afraid of pumpkins. But yeah, I mean they're like with like I don't know, the idea is like it's to they're scared of ghosts or whatever. So then they make something that's scary, but it's just gonna scare themselves and not scare the ghosts. So 46% of Americans plan to make jack o' lanterns in 2023. This is just a random stat that may or may not actually be true because you can't actually poll the whole country of America. So that means 154 million Americans plan to carve up pumpkins last year, which was up from 44%, which was 146 million in 2022. So that's actually kind of crazy that one like basically one in two people have made one. Now, what would be kind of interesting is to know how many people do. Because some people only do one, some people do two, some make a whole freaking family. Um, that would be something. All right, let's go. All right, so so these slides don't really do anything. I'm gonna have to kind of like sometimes blow it up. That's all the fun facts I have. This story we'll be able to get through it, but it's like there's no way I can memorize all of it. So I just put all the word. It's from a Reddit post, and I just put all of it on a slide. Um, but yeah, so that's the history of Halloween, um, and Stingy Jack, and then some fun facts. And then this is from a literal Mr. Ballen video. So obviously I can't tell it as well without like scripting and staging it. Um, but I thought it was interesting. Um, Tis Wos, I don't know say her name. The person who got him first got a record. Actually, before this, I'll start the next one and then go to the bathroom and then start it. Oh yeah, they must make a killing whenever it's in season. It'd be interesting to know how much of their income, unless they're just all farmers, which might be the case actually. Um, how much of that revenue from just making the pumpkins gets them, you know? All right, BRB real quick.
Pyro Bedlam cheered X500.
Pyro, thanks for the 500. All right, so with this story, um, if you leave during any part of it, you'll probably be lost because it's kind of long. I don't know how long it'll take me. I didn't practice to see how much it would take. It's kind of confusing. Well, it's not too confusing. It's just like there's a lot going on. The purple tally. All right, I'll start the timer. And then oh, this is what I was gonna do. Where is it? Okay. I'll move that whenever when I'm done with the slide. Okay, so the village that he lives in is Dongbei-gao, or however you want to say it. I should just say Dong Village the whole time, so then I don't have to say that whole freaking thing. because because it's in here like a lot. So it's just called the Dong Village, or just say where he where he lived in the village. Um, so basically, there's a guy named Hong, and he was born in 1956 in this village. We're called the Dong. It's Dongbei-gao or somehow or however similar to that, but I don't know how to fucking say it. In China's Hebei province. So that province is the same with Beijing, but it's ginormous. In one of the other slides, I'll it zooms out, which I think actually might be towards the end. No, wait, no, yeah, it's like a couple slides. So yeah, Pong from Dong. So if you see, the village is at the very bottom of where he lives. Okay, like all the way down there, and Beijing is at the top. So for reference, it's like kind of in the middle of nowhere. As you see, there's not like a bunch of major cities and stuff like that. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere. Okay, that's why the picture's there. That just so you understand that. And then Shanghai is like going to be in the lower right, so they're both like kind of far. Now don't worry, it's your head's only going to hurt more. Um, so on July 27th, 1977, Hong was 21 years old and still working as a farmer. Hong was recently engaged and planned on marrying his fiancee after the harvest season, and the couple recently began building themselves a new home. At 10 p.m., Hong had just finished his farm work for the day and went to bed in his unfinished home. That was the last anyone had seen of Hong for a while, as the next morning when the village woke up, so since it's a village, they all kind of wake up at the same time and they're farmers or whatever, um, Hong wasn't there. The village was greatly alarmed by Hong's disappearance and initiated a massive search effort to try and find him, but there was no trace of him anywhere to be found. This worried and confused the villagers, especially his family, as he never really traveled far and he only had a primary school level education. Um, so he's just a farm, a farm guy with no education. And this was in 1977. This wasn't now. So stuff like that happened more. And they searched the surrounding roads, ponds, cliffs, and other unknown locations to try and find him. They even contacted the nearest hospitals and police to ask if any unidentified bodies had been discovered, and to no avail. All right, let's start this one. Candace with the wind. All right, I'll put up a GP so then I can go through it too. Let's do here. We'll do 6. Um, all right, we'll do this. Yeah. All right. It's funny because well, I well, it's it's Hong from Dong. That's really what it is. That's his name. His name is Hong, so it's Hong from Dong. So when you remember the story, that's how you'll remember it. All right, 60 seconds. Okay, so fortunately, Hong would be found alive and unharmed, but this only resulted in more questions. 10 days later, on August 6th, so this happened in July. The village committee received a telegram from Shanghai. The telegram said that Hong was being held at a deportation center and that they were hoping for a local to come and pick him up. The telegram was late to arrive because it was accidentally addressed to the wrong village. There was just one problem that the telegram from Shanghai was dated at 9 on July 28th, which was less than half a day after his disappearance. Hong was later returned by the police in Shanghai, and it was indeed Hong. I don't know why they wrote it like that. There was just one problem. He him being in Shanghai within half a day from where he lived should have been impossible. So if you look at this, so you see where the Dong City is in the in the top left. Okay, so that's where he lived, and then if you look at the very bottom, that's where Shanghai is. And then later on, we talk about Nanjing, and that's close to there. So as you can see, it's pretty far away. If you don't know anything about geography, then that's fine. But it's far away in the image, and that's all you need to know. So it's be far away to travel. No, I didn't. No, you're good. So when he was back, he was questioned by his fellow villagers, and he could not provide an answer. According to him, he went to bed, and when at 6 to 7 a.m., he was awoken by a loud noise. The noise wasn't that of the farm animals, but instead the sounds of vehicles and numerous people. When he fully awoke, he found himself on the sidewalk, and that around him were cars, neon lights, and tall buildings and skyscrapers. He wandered around and saw writing on the various buildings and businesses,
Catch.
which said things such as Nanjing Shopping Center and the restaurant and pharma, and that nearby was a large swimming pool, which he later found out was Lake Xuanwu. It didn't take him long to realize that somehow he was in Nanjing, the capital city of. Um, he was in the capital city, which was 485 miles away from his home village. So basically, he somehow teleported or something there. So whenever he realized he was super far away, which was 485 miles away from his home, um, whenever he was so when Hong, who was now in complete and utter shock at his circumstance, walked aimlessly around the unfamiliar city until he was stopped and approached by two police officers. Hong, due to his state of shock and disbelief, he could barely answer their questions. When they asked him what he was doing or who he was, he said he was really lost to the two officers. And then they led him to the Nanjing rail station, and they gave him a ticket to Shanghai and told Hong that they would be waiting for him. And once he arrived, he would be taken to a repatriation camp for migrants. And since he did not know what else to do, and he was in a position to not disobey or resist, he just went on the train. Oh, nice, Chimp! You got a shiny. Congrats. So 4 hours later, the train pulled into Shanghai Station, and Hong headed out for the first police station he could find. And to his confusion, the exact same police officers from Nanjing were already waiting for him despite being out of the jurisdiction. Not boarding the train before him, and most of all, the train was the fastest method available. Arriving to Shanghai before Hong should be straight up impossible. So when he was there and there's police officers, they shouldn't have been able to get there either. And again, the story's kind of confusing. You just have to kind of go along with it. Yeah. All right, next one. Um, so the two officers refused to let Hong enter the police station in Shanghai and instead dropped him off at the repatriation camp in Shanghai. Hong first told his story to a PLA soldier at the camp named Liu, we'll just say Liu, and added the detail that the police officers in question were likely from the Shandong province based on the ticket he was given. Um, Hong stayed in the camp much longer than expected, as when Hong woke up in Nanjing, he didn't have any of his identity documents, and when the telegrams were sent out to the village to come collect them, they erroneously addressed them to a village that was 2 hours and 35 minutes away from where he actually lived. Um, and then the confusion was only cleared up after he was identified, because then the soldiers knew to take him back. So again, this is kind of confusing, but basically the synopsis of all of this.
Sinpack 1981 rated with 4 viewers.
All right, you have 60 seconds. Cindy, thanks for the raid. How was your stream? But yeah, so basically he would wake up and then he would be somewhere. It was way too far to even travel. And then when he was in two different locations, which was Shanghai and Nanjing, if I remember correctly, there's no way the police officers could have gotten there as fast as well. That's good to hear.
McFeast X followed.
All right. So, as mentioned, any questions the villagers had were multiplied as opposed to answered. I don't know why they said it like that. Hong arriving in Nanjing that soon should have been impossible, as the time trains in China were too slow to make such a fast trip. The nearest rail station was in the city of Handan, where Hong would have had to find his way to. See, they kind of wrote this kind of weird, like kind of not in English sometimes. Where Hong would have, it probably because it was translated, which Hong would have had to find his way to in the dark, despite having never ever been to Handan before. So if you look at the map, he was like 47 minutes away. It's hard to see. But even if he did make it to Handan all by himself with next to no money, the train would take one whole day to reach Nanjing, as opposed to the 9 to 10 hours between when Hong went to sleep and when he woke up. And this is without taking into account the waiting time for the train to arrive at Haidian Station, and trains were notoriously late back, then sometimes even being held back by an entire day, and tickets were expensive. Other methods of transportation also wouldn't have worked out. Planes and civilian aviation travel in China were still very new, because this was like 1970s. The entirety of Hebei province only had a tiny handful of airports, with the closest one being in the north near Beijing, which was located on the complete opposite side of Hebei, which is that big province, whereas Beijing, which is in the bottom, which you can kind of see, but it's dark. So basically, it was deemed highly unlikely for Hong to make the trip there by himself, especially as he wouldn't know the way, and even if he did, he would still have to pay for a ticket. So a car also wouldn't work, as nobody in the Dong village owned a vehicle because it was farmland. And even having a bicycle was considered immensely expensive and outside the means of the villagers. And even if he could use any of these methods, it still wouldn't explain the short time as to even get from his village to the nearest city. It would take 4 hours to drive from the village to the city by car. In this case, it's 47 minutes. There was also the question of why Hong would, assuming he wasn't lying when he did this. Hong never mentioned Nanjing or Shanghai at any point prior, and the fact that leaving their village and families were frowned upon. So, how Hong made it to Nanjing in such a short amount of time is unknown, but most villagers were prepared to accept it as a strange oddity and move on, while others dismissed him as lying or bragging. So, again, it's kind of confusing because the way the way this is written is it's written so it's not like telling the story and then it comes back and it's like, hey, this is weird, this is weird, this is weird. It's like, hey, this happened, this is why it's weird. Hey, this is what happened, this is why it's weird. Hey, this, that's how it functions. But that's what was posted on Reddit, and that's probably was what Mr. Ballen looked at when he made the video. But he made it more of a better like storytelling, because he went more on like trying to make sure you guys understand the actual story. Amp with the win. But it gets kind of better. I don't know how it's written. It's written better. More better. Oh yeah, sorry. Just better. Sorry, I've been spending too much time with Josh. Next one. Um, so again, so if you look at the bottom image here, you can see how big the province is, and so where his village is at the very bottom, in Beijing's like kind of in the middle. So when it goes over these, I think it's the next slide or something. You can see how far away it is from everything. But yeah, that was a lot of words for 4 slides. But the the TLDR is again, there's no way that like when he like basically what happened is he went to sleep and then he woke up in these areas, right? And doesn't know how he got there, he doesn't know, how it even happened. And then when he gets found and everyone comes back, um, it's like how did you travel in these cities and at home, you know, um, in this amount of time? Because it's so far away. And then in this case, like even if it was plane or something, it's still crazy. They could have done that in less words. All right. So you got 60 seconds. So on September 8th, 1977, it was harvest season in the village. Um, and Hong and his fellow villagers. So again, this whole thing that happened with the time traveling, well, not time traveling, but traveling super fast and waking up in the city and stuff like that, that was in July. So now we're gonna fast forward to September. Um, and so Hong and his fellow villagers, I like how they write this. Hong and his fellow villagers were made to do backbreaking work during a meeting held by the village cadres. I don't know what that means. At 10 p.m., the head of the village gave Hong and a few other villagers permission to leave and go to bed early as long as they send and deliver manure and fertilizer the next morning. They all took the cadres up on this offer and went to sleep. The next morning on September 9th, the villagers arrived at the fertilizer storage area and then realized Hong was missing again. Thinking that he had overslept, they all went to his house and only found his house empty. Something different caught their eye this time because carved into the bedroom wall was a message, and that message said Shandong, Gao Dengmin, and then Gao Yangjin, relax. I don't know what the hell that means. So, just like the last time, Hong was in Shanghai and was quickly sent back to the village on September 11th. And this time, there were witnesses both in Shanghai and his village. A majority of the village witnessed Hong go to his house and sleep before his disappearance the next morning. And just like with his first disappearance, he couldn't explain why he disappeared. Welcome in, Re. Yeah, 1977 though, but it's kind of weird. So, according to Hong, he woke up at the Shanghai rail station, due to a cold breeze. So, again, he's like wakes up, he's like, oh shit, 2 months later or whatever, oh, it's happening again. Um, and then he saw the same two mysterious police officers. Hong was again startled by his surroundings as it was the middle of the night, and according to the station's clock tower, it was 2 a.m. And as far as Hong could see, there was no other people, and the only light came from the stars and the moon. Not only had Hong unknowingly traveled a far distance in an impossibly short time, but he also did it at an inopportune time because, along with the darkness, Hong was constantly startled by the sound of thunder, lightning, and battered by heavy rain and highways. Sorry, Jesus. Heavy rain and high winds because Typhoon Babe, I don't know why the typhoon's called Babe, had recently made landfall near Shanghai. So it's like he was flying, right? Which is what Mont Flame just said. Hong, who was now even more terrified than he was before, could only think of Liu, which was the PLA soldier before, who helped him after his first trip to Shanghai. and it was the only and that person was the one who ultimately helped him return home, due to his relatives in the village. So Liu was not only the only person Hong could think to help him, but he was also the only person he knew at all in Shanghai from before. So finding Liu was not going to be easy, as Hong wouldn't be able to navigate Shanghai at all, let alone during a typhoon in the middle of the night with no people in sight. As Hong began to walk, he heard a voice coming from behind him, hearing a man say, "Hello there. You must be Hong of that village." It says county. Trying to head to the artillery division. This shocked him immensely, and he quickly turned back to see who this person was. When he turned around, he saw two men dressed in military uniforms. They told him that they were soldiers belonging to Liu's division and were assigned to pick him up from the rail station. So, TLDR, teleports or whatever, flies, and then those two mysterious police officers know the person he saw in Shanghai from before. Typher with the win. Oh. Oh yeah. All right, next one. Wait a little bit. And then, all right, you got 60 seconds.
Okay,
All right,
catch,
so
okay, catch.
oh, get this one. Event spawn. Okay. All right. So I clicked the wrong window. Hong followed the men. So again, we're going from those mysterious military men, mans. We'll just call them mans. That's actually funny. GT dressed up as Yusuf. Yeah, I'm actually not Mr. Ballen. I'm Yusuf. Um, Hong followed the men who took various ferries and buses before arriving at the artillery division, located in what is today the Pudong district. Despite how heavily guarded the area is, the guards let Hong and the two Jesus, I can't speak. Two men pass without issue. They then went to where Liu lived with his family, and they were completely shocked to see them as well as Hong again. Liu, however, wasn't home at the time. His wife was surprised that the three were even at the home because, according to Lee, when a relative comes to visit, they have to show their legal documents and sign in at the gate, um, and then come down and confirm their identities. Then they can finally. Oh, it's a quote. So his wife says, when a relative comes to visit, they have to show their legal documents and sign in at the gate. We'll then come down and confirm their identities. Then they can finally be let in. No way the guards and soldiers would let them in without any proceedings. And years later, Liu's son, when questioned about the case, would say that the two soldiers' uniforms looked off. He commented that the uniforms, this is a quote, their uniforms looked quite the ordinary, yet not very fitting, especially their visors. One's shoes and visor are the most important part of the uniform. Their visors were too big, and their uniforms seem to have been borrowed too. All right, I was just looking at chat real quick. Before his family could question the two, they simply walked away and couldn't be found again. Hong being at the base was a major security violation, and officials interrogated the guards on the duty, who all claimed to have never seen Hong and the two soldiers at any point. Once Liu returned home, another telegram was sent directly to the head of Hong's village, and they wanted to know every last detail about Hong and who exactly he was with the telegram, even straight up asking if he was a spy. They received a response from the head of the village, telling them that Hong was just a farmer with no ill will. Without any other information, the army decided to send Hong back to the village, but sternly warned him that he'd be arrested if they ever see him again. Then he returned home on September 11th. In their official reports, the military is unable to explain how he got to Shanghai so quickly and managed to get into the base. So, again, TLDR is that he, went to sleep, woke up, is with these military people, somehow gets into this base, unarmed, whatever. They just walk right in, even though it's, clearly guarded and stuff like that. And then I guess it's just him, and they're like, "Why are you here?" And he's like, "I don't know why I'm here. I just wake up here, dude. I don't know." All right, next one. Yeah, and like if I had more time, I had some other stuff going on. If I had more time, I would make it more of a story because now that I'm reading it, I see like it could be written a little bit better, but it is what it is. All right, you guys can get in. I'll give you 60 seconds. So, due to the multitude of witnesses testifying that Hong went to sleep in the village, and the military confirming that he was in Shanghai, all those who felt that Hong was lying about his travels soon had their doubts erased. So, Hong became the most talked about residents of the village. I mean, it's a village, so like, what's really going on there? And not in a good way because he became the main subject of all local gossip,
Angel
rumors,
underscore Lee underscore 79
and
followed.
superstitions. Angel, thanks for the follow. Many thought that he was possessed or haunted, with that being the reason for his seemingly supernatural speed and ability to travel such short distances. The constant attention took a mental toll on his fiancee, who sued his family for 200 yuan, which is dollars, due to reputational damages, and divorced him. This financially and emotionally ruined Hong, and it was when he was at his lowest that the third and final incident happened. So don't worry, it happens again. Hong continued his work as a farmer and laborer for the village, and on September 20th, he had finished his work for the day and began walking home. According to him, however, so tired that he ended up passing out in the yard in front of his house and went missing again. He would stay missing until September 28th, when he was found under a jujube tree, or however you're supposed to say that, in the village. And when asked where he had been, he told them about the most extraordinary story yet. So, if you look at the right, that's what the tree looks like. They look like balls. That's what they grow. All right. Yep. Okay. So, according to him, after he passed out in front of his home, he woke up, and instead of on the sidewalk or in a deserted train station during typhoon season, which was the other ones, he instead found himself in a luxury hotel room. He looked around, and behind him he saw the same two men from the first two incidents. This time, however, they were both dressed in civilian clothing and introduced themselves. They told Hong that they were brothers from Shandong province and identified themselves as the two people that were on that weird message that I said I don't even know where this comes from. Whatever the message was before, those are the two people. That was their names. Um, Hong also estimated that they were around 170 centimeters tall. I don't know what the hell that means. I only know freedom units. They they told Hong that they were the cause behind his disappearances, and that they dressed as police and soldiers to help him find his way home. They said that they had something special planned for Hong, and that during the next 9 days they would take him to 9 major cities. Hong asked where he was right now, and the brothers told him that it was still September 20th, and that he was in Lanzhou, located in China's Gansu province, the furthest he has ever been from home. Soon Hong would learn how he had traveled so far so quickly, because the next day on September 21st, they made Hong climb onto their back, and as Hong would later state,
Angel underscore Lee underscore 79 rated with 18 viewers.
dun, 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 dun. Angel, thanks for the raid. How was your stream? Did I miss anything? Yeah, exactly. Actually, I'll just wait. I'll just stop right there for a little bit because we're gonna have to go to the next race.
Sweet Skidden followed.
Jen, thanks for the follow.
Kafka the Lightning followed.
Hopefully your stream went well. All right. And I'm gonna have to make a new GP after this. All right. So soon Hong would learn how he had traveled so far so quickly because the next day on September 21st, they made him climb onto their back, and he would later state they took off, quite literally flew away with just their bodies. Hong said that they were flying at a low altitude and that he didn't feel any wind. He also recounted that the brothers took turns carrying him on their back. In over an hour, the three had arrived in Beijing. They first went to the Grand Theater without tickets, and just like at the army base, nobody stopped them. They watched an opera performance of Force onto Mount Lang. Their next stop was Tiananmen Square, and then they went. I don't know what that is. They're in front of something. The brothers, who were now speaking standard Mandarin instead of their dialects, introduced Hong to the surrounding areas and checked into a hotel, showing the staff a provincial. Oh, a letter for registration. It doesn't matter. That same day, they then flew to Taijin, where they snuck into a movie theater without tickets and watched the movie. So, like Mama Flame said, they flew. Um, and then he went to all these cities really fast, and then watched things for free. That is a synopsis of that. Since we got interrupted. Renobi, thanks for the follow. Calf, thanks for the follow. All right, you got 60 seconds. And then, all right, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I want to make sure we get through this. On September 22nd, they arrived in Harbin, located in Hailong province. In Harbin, they visited a department store, and then they visited Changchun, which I don't know what that is. And basically, I'm not going to go through this. Basically, again, they just went through all these places and all these different locations, and they're super far away. So on September 27th, they went to this Mid Autumn Festival, and then they made a last stop somewhere else. When Hong went to sleep in their hotel room, he woke up under the same tree he mentioned earlier and was back in his village. So they traveled to every city via the brothers flying, and according to Hong, no matter how close or how far the city was, the time it took to get there was always an hour. He also noted that the brothers could speak the local dialects of all the provinces they visited, and whenever they went to hotels, the brothers always had they had this like registration letter or something. One of the brothers always watched Hong, while the other would borrow clothing such as police or military uniforms from somewhere Hong didn't know. Clothing and yuan, clothing and money, for the accommodations and meals were the only items the brothers carried, as they didn't seem to own items such as bags and wallets. Aside from their ability to fly to anywhere they wanted and their strange behavior, such as only carrying clothes and money, Hong said that they were seemingly normal human beings in every other aspect and ate and slept like everyone else. They also had the same body temperature as anyone else would. The only rules they had were that Hong couldn't have any photos and he couldn't keep any souvenirs. So when Hong asked why they singled him out instead of getting someone else, they wouldn't respond. And when he asked if they could teach him how to fly or tell him how they learned to do it, they would say no. Um, and just as they told him, he went the 9 days he went missing. They visited 9 different cities. Sounds like something from Heroes. Gotcha. So Hong was obviously the talk of the town still. So after this, he was the talk of the village, and the superstitions that gods or ghosts were responsible continued. Eventually, the gossip around Hong had gotten to the point that the local police, propaganda department, and the nearest military base had heard of Hong's story and began a very extensive investigation into him. Officials believed that he was purposely sabotaging the village's production and reputation and proceeded to classify him as a class enemy. While being interrogated, his behavior was found to be normal and he showed no signs of mental illness or cognitive disorders. After they were unable to find any evidence of Hong being a threat, they reluctantly let him go and revoked his class enemy status. He just hated farming. Hong's story became well known throughout China and is one of the country's most famous alleged paranormal events, and even the government officially declares his case as unexplained. This is not the end of the story. Um, I mean, as you see, I mean, Josh and Bob are here. On December 14th, 2004, the case was reinvestigated by Zhang Jiping. Oh, I think they spelled that wrong. Um, an investigator of the Beijing branch of the China's UFO Association, Ji Jiaming, the chairman. I don't know why it says all this. So the case was reinvestigated by an investigator, the chairman, of the UFO Association, a famous Chinese hypnotist, and a professor of the Peking University Medical Department. There was rather conclusive evidence of Hong's first two incidents, as numerous witnesses as well as official telegrams all confirmed that Hong had gone to sleep in his home village only to appear in Shanghai. But there was far more doubt as to if he had been to any of the cities mentioned during his third disappearance. Okay, so basically, the first two they're like, oh, maybe, and then the third they're like, maybe not.
Okay, catch. Okay, catch.
Dodie with the record and the win. All right. I'll do a GP. Oh, let's do. All right, next one. All right. Okay. I'm just rereading it, case. Yeah. So there's still doubt that about his third situation. You guys have 60 seconds. So Hong was put under hypnosis and asked what happened, and he told the doctor the same story he did back in 1977. Hong eventually woke up from the hypnotic state, claiming that one of the two brothers made him wake up. In 2004, a documentary was made by CCTV, and several interviews and tests were conducted during the documentary. He was subjected to a polygraph test, and he ended up failing the test, and Hong refused to accept these results. Those administering the test also admitted that Hong's declining memory, the 27-year gap between the test and the incident, and the stress of being subjected to such a test for the first time may have affected his results. During the documentary, the police, based on Hong's description, also created composite sketches of the two brothers. Due to the advancement in China's transportation infrastructure, Hong was brought to Nanjing and he was able to retrace his steps in an attempt to recreate his journey from the sidewalk to the military base. They then brought Hong to the physiatric division, where the lead doctor, after reading his statements, said that the brothers would have been traveling at supersonic speeds and that Hong had been sleepwalking or lying. Although nobody defended him from claims of sleepwalking, his fellow villagers all refused to entertain the possibility that he was lying. They cited Hong's lack of motivation or ability to travel, how he traveled to Shanghai in such a short amount of time, and how he had no reason to lie about it since telling the story caused him to become a laughingstock and lost his fiance. Hong quite literally gains nothing from telling the story and lying, and it affected him very negatively. Aside from a lack of evidence, others supporting the lying theory state that Hong only claimed to have visited major cities, prompting some to speculate that he just picked them out from a map, and that oddly enough, he never visited this city, which is the capital of Hebei, Shijiazhuang. I can't even say that. I can't even attempt to say that. The province that Hong actually lives in. Hong was examined by other psychologists and mental health professionals who deemed Hong to be sane, which is the source of the sleepwalking theory. So basically, they're like, "You're lying. Retrace your steps." And he's like, "Okay." And he's like, "Well, I don't really." And then everyone's like, "Well, you don't really gain anything. So why would you lie?" Um, and there's two more slides. As this theory suggests, Hong was sleepwalking when he made his way to Nanjing, and that the stories of the two brothers were just dreams he had while sleepwalking. Various Chinese citizens don't view this theory as credible, since Hong, while sleepwalking, would need to either walk all the way to the train station in Handan, which would have taken 4 hours to drive to by car, and buy a buy a ticket with money he didn't have while he was asleep. So he would have had to have not only walked but also buy a ticket. And while still sleeping, once on the train stopped in the one city, he would have slept walk, whatever, onto the next train to Shanghai, all with nobody noticing he was sleepwalking and waking him up. Just to be sure, though, doctors performed an MRI scan of his brain and the results came back normal. The third theory is that Hong suffered from multiple personality disorder and that the two brothers were in fact Hong himself and that he just perceived them as different people due to his disorder. The Gao personalities are the ones that actually travel to locations only for Hong's normal personality to take over once he arrives at the destination, hence him waking up. This theory also states that Hong flying on their backs is actually just a fantasy of his personality. This theory doesn't stand up to scrutiny as various mental health officials have found Hong sane and that he no, and that he would have shown signs of multiple personality disorder before and after the three incidents. This theory also wouldn't explain the short travel times and Lou's wife and son also witnessing the two as separate people. So the wife thing where he met them, that was not made up. There's one more theory though that it is from those who want to believe that it is all real, that he's telling the truth, and that UFOs are involved. Love rules us all with the wind. Hell Bunny, do it again. Sorry, baited. All right. So I guess the one theory is that he was lying, right? Because the polygraph failed. But then it's like, well, that doesn't really make any sense. He could have sleptwalked for some of it, but that doesn't make sense because then he would have had to buy a ticket. And then in this case, it's saying he has a disorder, but that doesn't really make any sense either because he appeared sane whenever they interviewed him. All right, 60 seconds. All right, this is the last slide. So they looked further into Hong's claims to try and find any proof that he was in the cities mentioned during his third disappearance. According to one source, when describing the weather, they matched up with the geological data at the time, but this appears to be unconfirmed. A journalist went to the Grand Theater in Beijing to look through the records and see if they ever held the same performance Hong claimed to have seen. He discovered that the theater closed due to an earthquake and wouldn't reopen until 1979, which meant Hong could not have seen any performances in that theater. However, there was another theater nearby that was open in 1977. And on September 21st, 1977, the day Hong claimed to be in Beijing, they held a performance of, it's called Forced Onto Mount Lang, which is the one he said before. This journalist ruled that Hong, hailing from a small and rural village, could have easily confused two nearby and similar theaters in an unfamiliar environment such as the major city of Beijing. There are also those who agree that Hong traveled at nearly supersonic speeds, but instead have a terrestrial explanation, and that he fell victim to military experimentation. This theory states that the military flew Hong to these cities for various experiments, and that the Gao brothers were high-ranking officials in charge of the experiments. They then drugged Hong and made him undergo hypnosis to make him forget what he experienced. Many are skeptical of this theory because if the Chinese government wanted to conduct human experimentation, um, they have a bunch of death row inmates in political prisons. So why would they just pick some random ass farmer? Um, I mean, I actually think that'd be more likely. You pick someone super random, so then it's. I guess then when you need to cover your butt, then it's screwed up because it's not just an inmate. Um, so this incident remains one of China's most infamous unsolved mysteries, but as of now, there have been no new developments. He's 67 at whenever they wrote this, which I think was like 2 years ago, and he lives in a quiet life in his village away from the cameras. The last time that there's any news from him was in 2008. That's it. You turned 13 that day? Yeah, so basically all the theories that they have from him teleporting 9 places in 9 days don't make any sense. It doesn't make sense of what happened to him either. So we'll never know what actually happened to him. Um,
Catch underscore Maeve underscore you can followed.
Catch, thanks for the follow. So let me see something. So if you guys want, and I can give a link to anyone who wants it. If you just DM me on Twitch or DM me on Discord, it doesn't really matter. But the Mr. Ballen video is called "The Chinese Government Has Confirmed the Paranormal," and it was 8 months ago. If you want to watch his video on it, it's not as like choppy because we're playing marbles and stuff happens. And I read what they put on Reddit, so it was you know a little choppy with that too. Burt, 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 burt.